All right, guys, welcome back to our channel. Once again, we're here to talk a little bit more about crypto. And once again, we got my good friend over here, Tyson. Tyson, thank you so much for coming over here.
We're back.
We're back, and I'm surprised I even got him over here, but we got him over here.
It's tough, right? In a bull market, right? To get away from the computer.
Pretty much. It's been a little rough lately. How do you see the market, man? I see like a lot of good things happening. I'm pretty impressed. All my stocks are up, at least crypto's up. And we finally hit 100K.
I know, right? That's that famous 100K mark. I know we've all been fantasizing about it for 15 years or something since Bitcoin actually started. I remember people being like, someday this will be worth 100K. And it seemed crazy back then, you know, when Bitcoin was $500 or whatever. And here we are. And now it's almost like people are talking about $1 million Bitcoin.
100%. And now a lot more people are investing. A lot more apps I think have been created just to invest in crypto, which is pretty amazing. And everybody's just in shock. People were like, damn, I should have had some money. And people that literally put $1,000 a few years ago, they would have been pretty much up now. And as far as that goes, wow, it's so impressive to me.
Yeah, and it's super interesting because, I mean, if you've been paying attention to crypto for a while, you may know about this, but if you're new to the game, you may not, that basically everything operates on a 4-year cycle. And so you'll hear about the Bitcoin halving, right? You may have heard that term. Every 4 years, there's a change in the Bitcoin protocol and the actual code that changes the incentives for the miners. So the translation there is effectively the supply and demand shifts every 4 years, and that's actually what drives these big run-ups every 4 years, is there becomes less and less Bitcoin available, more and more people that want it, and then the incentives for the people who are actually mining it and generating new Bitcoins are actually shifted as well. And so it creates this really interesting 4-year cycle where if you look back over history of Bitcoin, for example, you know, it started in 2009, but nobody really knew what it was back then. So probably the real first cycle or bull market was kind of 2013, 14 range, or I should say, 13, 14. And then 12, 13. And then you got to 16, 17. That was the next big run. And you had the big run up from, a few $100s all the way to $21,000 Bitcoin. Then it crashed back down, right? And then 4 years later was 2021, and we got all the way up to 69,000, right? And now here we are again. And so when I first started in crypto, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It just goes up and down a lot.
Up and down a lot.
But there's actually some kind of map to the madness, right? If you don't know about it, it just looks like chaos. It looks like, oh my God, this thing goes up and it goes down and nobody knows what's going to happen. But the truth is, if you look at when these big bull market peaks have happened, they're all in an exact 4-year increment.
Yes.
And so what's crazy is if you map 12 months from the peak, so in 2021, the peak was 69,000. 12 months later was the bottom.
Yes.
15,006 in 2022. It was November, maybe early December. I think it was November.
Right.
And just for the record, Bitcoin was born in November of 2009. The very first Bitcoin to ever exist was in November of 2009. So somehow it's anchored to this November start-stop.
Right, every 4 years. It's just, and it's crazy because if you really look at the Venn diagram of every 4 years, it literally, the same steps occur on the same 4-year chart, when it occurred, when it happened, when it was born. And I'm super excited for what's coming for the next 4 years. I'm sure people are going to be more knowledgeable now as far as maybe I should put a couple dollars to the side and in crypto, and they're believing in it more, which is cool because, more money, more growth.
Yeah, and then we have the unique aspect now, which we never had before, is that we have Wall Street on board, right? All the regulation is clear. There's no more oh, what if Bitcoin gets banned? What if, crypto gets banned? And we got basically the best outcome that you could ever get with having a pro-crypto president being elected right now in the same year that we got the ETF approved.
Yes.
So all the fear is now pretty much out of crypto. So a lot of people years ago would go, well, why doesn't why don't countries buy Bitcoin? Why don't big companies buy? Because they were afraid that, hey, what happens tomorrow if, someone comes out and says it's illegal or it's banned in XYZ country. And so now I think what we're seeing is this incredible like macro approval starting here with a crypto president, an ETF, Wall Street all on board. And so just to be clear here, if you didn't know this, like in the past, Wall Street wasn't really allowed to participate fully in this. And of course, they have the most money. Huge corporations weren't really able to participate. And so there was all this money sitting out of crypto going, when are we going to be able to come in? And that's now. That's the dinner bell has been rung, and they're all going, dude, it's now.
It's going to be nice when third world countries can be able to at least start investing in crypto, and it's going to be more worldwide. And I think that like most states, most countries, foreign states have kind of they've been kind of starting the program.
I think they're secretly doing it, a lot of them, right? Like everybody knows about El Salvador because they have a great president. He's really charismatic, and he came out actually in the last cycle in 2020 or 2021. He bought Bitcoin. Everybody criticized him too because they were like, "Oh, he bought like too high, and then his investment went down." Well, now he's up like $600 million or something on that initial investment.
Yes.
And so he's having the last laugh. Everyone said, oh, he's dumb, he bought the top or whatever. But back to this idea of the 4-year cycle, is even if you buy the high price in this cycle, for example, and you keep buying regularly, and you just dollar cost average into it, you're going to end up, right? If you have a long enough time horizon. The people who kind of come in real quick, maybe they buy it at a relatively high price, and they go, oh, I'm out of here, and they leave for another 4 years, and they come back and buy the top again, they're missing the point of Bitcoin, right? So specifically Bitcoin, you should just use it as a savings account.
Pretty much.
Should take, every time you get paid $100, take $20 and put it into Bitcoin.
Exactly.
And don't even look at the price.
Exactly.
Just do it every single time, and then over the course of like a year, 2 years, 3 years, you'll see it really compounds. But you will see big shifts in the price, right? Like if you look at any given moment, there is some volatility there, but I think that'll stop, to be frank.
It will definitely stop. And throughout that, have you seen any new coins that have came out lately? I know it's a lot of shit coins, like we talked about like in our last video, a lot of shit coins, and it can really get shitty.
Of course.
But as far as that goes, I know we got the Pepe coin going up, the Meme coin, we got a whole bunch of other ones coming up. And I see a lot of good news all the time on X. I don't go too much by X, but it does have sometimes some accurate information to us, certain things that are happening. What platforms do you use to kind of see any Venn diagram or any news that you've seen before in the news? Because usually the news doesn't give any type of information.
Yeah, they're late. They're late to the party. By the time the news is talking about it, it's like, it's way too late.
It's way too late.
Yeah, so I'm on X a lot, but then what I'll do is like I follow very specific people that I know are, successful in the space and have given some pretty good recommendations. And I'm not taking all of their recommendations, but I'm making a list. And so what I recommend people do is like go get like CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. Those are free apps, and you can make a list in there, like a watch list. And so every time I hear of a new project, I'll just put it on a watch list. I'll try to do the watch list by category. So for example, if it's like an AI token, I have like an AI watch list. I have a gaming watch list. I have RWA, which is real world assets, is a big narrative this time. And so outside of Bitcoin, what's sort of like interesting? Obviously Solana has been very popular because all the meme coins are happening there. And it's a really fast chain. It's really cheap compared to Ethereum, so you pay almost nothing on fees. So that's a really, anything in the Solana ecosystem that has any amount of value is going to grow pretty fast because their whole chain is just booming right now. That said, I think there's some other things that'll grow even faster from here forward in the next 12 months because they're even newer.
Yes.
So things like Sui, Aptos. There's some other like really new ones too that are like very specific AI projects. Like I'm looking at Based AI right now. I bought some of that. It's a AI project built by the same guys who built the original Pepe coin.
Yes.
And they're like these really respected developers in the space. They've built a lot of things. funny thing is, nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
They've never revealed their identity.
They never knew. Yeah, yep.
And so everyone was like shitting their pants on this new project, going, "Oh God, what if these guys just disappear in the night? They're holding so much money." And they ended up delivering, though. They launched November 30th. Everything was great.
Yes.
They didn't screw over anyone. They're like these, white knights. They could have easily.
Yes.
And so that one's very interesting. But I think if you're thinking about like what outside of Bitcoin, because like Bitcoin's your savings account, like that's not even exciting, right, for most people, because it's, over time it's going to do something for you. But what about those like 10 and 20 and 50 X's that can happen in like a 6 to 12 month period?
Easy.
Right now is the time period. So we're at December of 2024. So right after that November date I told you, which is kind of the beginning of the 12-month period where all the growth happens for the 4-year period. So think about it this way. In 2020, this exact same date, okay, December 13th, Ethereum, I looked at it earlier today, I believe was $540 in 2020, this exact date.
Wow.
By May or June, it was crossing 4,000.
4,000.
So think about that. That's about a 6-month period, and it 10x'd.
And nowadays it's better. I mean, it's not even safe to have money in your bank nowadays. So much happening with banks here and there, and it could be a better investment to have your money on crypto, because basically, one, it's gonna grow. Two, it's doing great all around, and you guys got to see this as a long term. It's not like you want to come in there and win 5 million in like 2-3 days. This takes time. This takes process, but it is way better than a savings account. I can tell you this much.
Yeah.
I had a XRP. XRP hit an all-time high the other day, and I've had XRP for about a couple months. I bought it at very low. I sold it just because you know what? I'm gonna collect my gains. I'm gonna put my money in other slots, and
you gotta take profit when you win.
Yes, when you win, you gotta definitely take profit. Sometimes we can't get too greedy. Sometimes, you know what I mean. But as far as that goes, I got that money and I started playing around with other coins and stuff.
So like for me, if I were someone who just profited on something like XRP, which is like a large cap, it's a big market cap, what I would want to do right now, it's literally the perfect time in the entire 4-year cycle. From here until next November is where all the growth is going to happen. And frankly, from here until summer is where the majority of it will happen. And so in the case of Ethereum in 2020, 2021, you saw that at 10x. This cycle, my belief is the Ethereum of this cycle is Solana. And it's going to probably do a similar behavior from here to the summer.
Yes.
But I believe Sui is Solana this cycle. So last cycle, remember, Solana went from nothing to $260.
Easy.
It outperformed Ethereum. So Ethereum 10x'd from this period. Dude, Solana was under $1 in December, and it went to $260 by the summer. So you think of that, that's like a 275x in 6 months. So that's crazy, but I'm not sure that Sui will do that big of a gain, but I think it will do a huge gain because it's the new, shiny, sexy one, just like Solana was last time. And I see this repeat. There's always, okay, Bitcoin, everything's driven by Bitcoin. That's the big daddy. It has to do well first. But then there's always the, okay, who's the second, non-Bitcoin token? Is it ETH? Is it XRP? But then like right next to that discussion is, but what about something even more futuristic, even newer, even faster, even cheaper?
Yes.
This time, I think it is Sui or maybe it's Aptos. But so for me, like what I was saying to you to close that idea, I say Sui and Aptos are in the same conversation because they're programmed on the same language called Move, which is a programming language that has a lot of benefits, and there's no other crypto projects that are running on Move.
Yes.
And so there's a whole developer community that knows how to work with that technology and all this kind of stuff. And so similar, Solana is on a language called Rust. And Rust is a great language for like AI and some of these other things. So there was already developers who knew how to write in Rust before Solana existed. And so they said, ooh, let's select Rust because a lot of AI devs will like this. They're already using it.
Right.
Now Move they did a similar thing where they were like, ooh, there's all these really good devs in Silicon Valley and people who work for Facebook and all that, and they already know Move.
Yeah.
So let's build our thing on Move. And so they're like really catering to like some of the really smart developers, which is a good strategy because then they go build cool stuff, which then other people want to invest in. And so I see that like for you, if you swapped your profit out of XRP and just bought into SUI, or SUI, however the hell you say it, that's like the smartest trade of the whole fucking cycle because you got the run up on XRP, you took the profit, and now this one's just getting into its big move, and it's, you know, sub $5 right now. I think that token is definitely $100 token.
Easy, like in the next probably 6 to 7 months, right?
Yeah, I think it'll do just like Solana. And so same thing with Aptos. Aptos is actually a smaller market cap, but the price of the token is like $12 or $13 right now. I see that as probably $150 to $200 token by summer-ish. And it's all just because it's new and it's exciting.
Yes. I remember years ago, people bought so much Bitcoin that they were just giving them away.
Yeah.
I heard this pizza guy that I think they paid him on like Bitcoin like years ago, and
it's like $1 billion mistake now.
It's like $1 billion mistake, easy.
Everyone was like, "How fun! He ordered a pizza." And at the time, they were like, "Oh, that's cool." Then, of course, what was it? 10, 15 years later,
right.
They're like, "Hey, buddy, remember all that Bitcoin you spent? It's now worth $1 billion."
Easy.
Yeah.
And I saw it pretty interesting, and you know, because sometimes people just give things because they think it doesn't have too much value to it.
At the time, yeah, it like didn't.
It didn't.
I mean, I even remember myself. I knew a guy who was mining Bitcoin in literally 2011, and I was just like walking by all the time. Like I actually worked in the office that he was the owner of the company, and we did like web design and stuff. And he had these computers set up around the office, and he was mining Bitcoin. At the time, it seemed like the stupidest thing. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Yeah.
He's mining? In my mind, I'm like, what? Was he a coal miner?
Right.
Is he digging holes? I don't even know what that means.
Right.
And I walked by him for years going, oh, there's this Bitcoin mining bullshit. On to the next thing. And I didn't even know what was going on there. He was a genius. He's now worth a ton of money because he fucking got a bunch of Bitcoin at like $1, $5, something silly.
Jesus.
But the point being is value. This is a great point to learn, is like value is very relative, and it's dynamic and it's fluctuating at all times. And it's also, so like depending on the time, a certain thing can be worth not very much, but then you fast forward because the conditions of reality shifted, that thing becomes so valuable. And those conditions are infinite money printing by governments worldwide, not just the US. And so, tiny history lesson, in 1972, we left the gold standard, right? So we used to have a bar of gold in a vault for every green dollar that was floating around in the economy. Then Richard Nixon, and I'm sure he had a gun in his back from a bunch of other people, who was the president at the time, he came out and he said, that's it, the gold standard's over. We're now not backing it basically with anything. There's no gold, we're just backing it with the red, white, and blue and the bombs and the, you know, the whatever. But it was just like, now there's no limit. And so when there was a gold bar connected to every dollar, you could only have the amount of dollars that represented the amount of gold you had.
Right, because
and so it capped the amount of money in the system.
It capped it. Well, the dollar is losing value daily.
And that's why, though.
At the moment, they were like, you know what? I need some collateral. I know the dollar's there and the money's there, but I need that collateral because I know that collateral, this collateral has been traded for decades, as far as ages to very long time.
Yeah, in the old days, a dollar was literally a token that represented a gold bar.
Yes. Also, in other convenience stores, I see that people shop with gold.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you that video where it says buy some groceries, and then they have a scale, and they're just basically putting how much that's going to be cost, and it's like 0.2 grams. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool because they're using gold instead of the dollar because and they're using that for a reason because they know that dollar may be not worth a lot more in their states, but more in other states. So it just goes down to as far as losing value or not losing value.
And what's so basic about the idea where it's like, it's so confusing when you listen to the news or the government because they want you to be confused. Remember that. It's actually very simple. You don't even have to take an economics class, but if you ever did, this is like the first sentence out of the teacher's mouth.
Yes.
Is supply demand, right?
Supply and demand.
And so all that happened when the gold standard was pulled was that now there was no cap on the supply of dollars, and anytime a government person decided they wanted to have more money to either pay off their friends, pay off lobbyists, buy bombs to go to wars, whatever, and keep a lot of it in their own pocket as well, right? That's why we have a huge national debt. Now all of a sudden there was no governor on that. They could just go, oh, we want $1 trillion, print, and they didn't have to have the gold anymore to get the money. And so that used to be the insurance policy, because everybody knew that humans are greedy and humans are going to do stupid stuff. They're going to lie, they're going to cheat. And so the gold standard was there to actually protect the citizens from having a guy over here secretly printing off a bunch of money, because the supply of the money is what decides the value of each unit. And so it's the same as if you look at like apples, okay? Like apples are, there's a certain amount of apples in the market right now, but if all those apples were like the supply of apples was cut in half, the price would double or more, right?
Yes.
And so the same thing with money. I never learned this lesson until I was far out of university, which is hilarious because I actually graduated from university and somehow they never told me this part, which is, hey, supply and demand, the core thing of economics, that's actually governing the currency. So depending on how many dollars there are, that decides how valuable each dollar is. And so every time you hear a politician or someone say, hey, we're going to authorize this big amount of funding, we're going to do $1 trillion for this, or we're going to go to a war, we're going to send it to Ukraine, we're going to do all this stuff, that money is invented or printed out of thin air, so it didn't exist previously. And most people don't understand this, so they go, oh great, we're sending money there, we're helping them out, or we decided to fund a new program to upgrade America's highways, like whatever that is, the money supply is increasing by the number that they say, because that money isn't like in a bank account and they're just like paying their bill like a normal human would. They're going, hey guys, print out new money to pay for the thing. But what is that? That's an increased supply of total dollars. So now all of those individual dollars are worth less. And this has been going on since 1972, and it's been greatly accelerated in the last few years. In COVID, for example, we doubled the entire money supply for the entire history of the United States. So think about it. It was 2020 or 2021. The US started in 1776. Okay? So 250 years we'd been around. We doubled the money supply in like a month during COVID. So then you go, oh my God, and everyone sits there and goes, what about inflation? Wasn't inflation crazy? And I'm going, yeah, inflation happened, but what would you expect when you literally double the money supply, just like the case of the apples, where you go, okay, any basic person who knows anything about economics is going to go, well, yeah, you increase the supply, now everything's going to cost more. And they acted like they didn't know what they were doing. Well, the reason they did all that was because a lot of individuals were able to cash in on that. So there was people who were getting free money, businesses were getting free loans they didn't have to pay back, and everyone at the high level was kind of in on it. The people down below got screwed because all of your cost of living went through the roof, your food, everything, all because the money supply expanded greatly. And so I always laugh when everyone tries to think of all these things. Why is inflation happening? No, there's only one reason inflation ever happens. It's when there's too much money chasing too few products. That's it.
100%. I don't understand how we're pretty much, the United States is pretty much in debt, and the machine, it's basically not stopping. So what I did read this document,
creating more debt to pay the debt.
Exactly, more debt to create the debt, and now these other states want gold instead of the dollar bill.
Right.
So it falls down to the point where, you know what, we're not getting the dollar bill no more. We don't want the dollar. We want gold.
Yeah.
We want gold. So it could be why we're pretty much in debt too, obviously. But it all falls down to what you said, basically.
Yeah, it's called deficit spending, basically, where it's like you're spending more than you have. If it was like an individual household, you wouldn't be allowed to do this because you're just a person who basically has a certain amount of money that you can get, and then you have to live within that. But if you're a government, you can just keep going back to the printer and going, actually, I need another trillion and another trillion. And you just keep adding on. When you see something you like, yeah, give me some more new money. And so imagine from 72 all the way to 2024, it's been that endlessly. So you go, oh my God, that's an insane amount of time, right? That's fucking 50 whatever some years. And every time there was a war, every time there was a problem, every time there was a friend of ours, a country far away that needed a thing, and a lot of those were lies also, they were fraud. They've now proven that, 50% of the Pentagon's budget, they don't know where it is. They just did an audit on it. This is like the 10th time in a row, by the way, that they've failed. So it's so funny to me, is like all the facts are in front of you.
Yes.
That the currency is being inflated away. Historically, currencies only last 75 years anyways. So if you go all the way back to the Roman Empire,
Yes.
they were fucking doing this shit.
They were fucking doing
They were taking gold. So they similarly had a gold coin that was pure for a long time. Then they expanded the empire and started to fight wars all around the place and tried to colonize everyone and get really big and bloated. And then what did they do? They started diluting the gold, and they started to make the coins be less and less gold. And it was like copper, then it was some other metal.
Yes.
By the end of the Roman Empire,
Yes.
the gold coin had no gold in it.
Yeah.
But they were telling the guys that there was gold in it,
There
but
was
the
gold in
emperor
it.
knew the secret. And behind the scenes, he was like, I'm the only one with the real gold.
Exactly.
And eventually what happened to the Roman Empire? Zap, gone, right? They had a good run. And this is why it always happens. It's like you start out as the underdog. You, like the Americas, for example, you fight some rebellion against the British. Okay, cool. Now we're a new country. Yay. And you start doing like really good stuff, like gold standard, and we're going to be responsible. We're going to be good boys. We're a new country. Yay. Then like 100 years later, you start getting just kind of like the rich kid or something who has no understanding of discipline. He's using dad's credit card.
Yeah, we got more. Yeah, we got a lot of those over here.
And that's basically what ended up happening as a country, though. Like if you think about the U.S. as like if it were a person in the beginning, it was like, man, I'm going to be really disciplined. I'm going to have a gold standard. I'm going to take, I'm going to not spend more than I have. And then as time went on, more states came in, more fucking relationships internationally. Then World War II is when it really got salty.
Yes.
So like in World War II, basically we became the U.S. We became the America that everyone knows now. Before World War II, we were just like some country amongst a lot of countries. We were not the leader. And so I bring all this shit up in a world like where we're talking about crypto, because this is why you must pay attention to crypto, because it's really your only out. I mean, you do have gold, as mentioned, but it provides far less, mobility, far less ability to kind of cut it up into small increments. It's tough to take with you. It does give you some protection against this inflationary world, but Bitcoin and crypto overall is really the best option for combating this massive inflation problem. And so the reason I wanted to really call this out in this episode is like, once you understand this, then you start to go, oh, like my option isn't just like sitting in this paper currency and doing okay. No, you're losing money
Yes.
every single day. If I'm holding a, let's call it a $10 bill in my hand, I'm losing a significant amount of the purchasing power over the course of a year. And so you actually have to do something, because if you just sit there and hold the fiat currency, the paper money, you actually will basically end up at zero if you hold on to it long enough.
Yes, definitely. As far as that goes, what do you see us in the next 4 years? You think Bitcoin is going to go from 100K to 150 or to about 200? I definitely see it at probably like about a good 180, 175 within the next.
I think that's going to happen like in 2025. So like, I think you'll see close to a 200K Bitcoin in 2025, based on the patterns of the past, right? So like we've seen it before in 4-year schedules where at the beginning of, so in 2017, we got to 21,000 as a peak for Bitcoin before it crashed back down. But then you saw the next bull run in 2021, it went all the way to 69K. So that's like 3x-ish from the previous cycle. So usually they say that it kind of has a little bit less dramatic growth each cycle because it's getting bigger and bigger. So my guess is that we see at least a 2.5x, which if you take 69 times 2.5, you're basically getting yourself to kind of around that pushing that 200K-ish.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty obvious. Now, there's a scenario where this could go way higher this time because of Trump being in there talking about a Bitcoin reserve.
Yes.
If that actually happens, he's signaling it now. And so if he gets it done, that could like throw things through the roof, because that would change everything. Where, you know, the US government's officially holding it as like a gold bar in their treasury, that would basically make it so the new low the new floor is probably like way higher. I don't think we would ever see a big drop like we have in the past if they're holding it.
I'm kind of glad, I know everybody has their options, but I'm kind of glad that Trump came out, because we have never had a multi-billion-dollar president.
True.
And we have had a lot of great presidents up and down, but a multi-million-dollar, he doesn't have to be a president.
Right.
But he basically did the path of being a president. And when he talks about these certain things, I pay attention really closely, because he's where the money's at. He basically talks about things that are going to occur, things that are going to happen. We're going to have a little Bitcoin check, you know what I mean? And we talked about this months ago, you know what I mean?
And you know he's talking to Elon, right? So like Elon has been involved in crypto since the very beginning. Tesla publicly holds Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They've been there since, I believe, 2017 or 20, I don't remember. So like Elon's been involved in crypto from the very early days. And so I'm sure he helped him get his head around it. And so like the thing that's interesting about crypto too is like you can't really have AI in the future without crypto. So this was another big factor.
Yes.
So when you start to think about all this stuff of like what has to be true in order for your crypto investment to like go well, first and foremost, this like hyperinflationary environment where they're all printing more money, and then Bitcoin has a limited supply. Okay, that's already the big factor, like the backdrop. That's actually what made Michael Saylor go into Bitcoin, is he was watching his money evaporate, his US dollars in his company's account. And he was like, shit, he like did the math and was like, if I don't do anything, in a handful of years, I'm basically just gonna lose all of this savings to inflation. So I got to do something. And he was thinking he would buy property or he would do something else. And he started adding up all the like property taxes and like all these other things you have to worry about. And then he ran this simulation against what if I just put all this into Bitcoin? And he was like, holy fuck, I think this is like a really good idea. And then he did it, and then he kept doing it and he kept doing it. Now he's obviously like the Bitcoin guy, but he started doing that only because his money was getting inflated away, just like yours is, his savings account. He's like, I got to do something about this. Now, obviously, he's turned his whole life into Bitcoin only, and MicroStrategy is like this like levered bet on Bitcoin. But it was all because of the same fucking reason that, you know, anybody listening to this needs to have that, right? So it doesn't matter how big or small your current account is, you should take a percentage and put it in there to fight inflation. Now, the second factor, you know, like we've talked about, is like, okay, one thing's inflation, but what about the future? Like, where is the world even going?
Yes.
Well, the world clearly is going towards artificial intelligence. I mean, that's where all the bets are. That's where all the progress is. And turns out these AI agents need to be able to be paid for work that they do. And there's already examples of AI paying each other in crypto, yes, without any humans being involved. You know, obviously the humans created this AI, but now they're able to go out into the world and like make payments, buy stuff, do work, do all this stuff. And so you know, carry the two on that, as they say in math, right? But like 10 years into the future, 20 years in the future, where all this shit is like super developed and AI is fully integrated in society, you actually need crypto. And here's one detail to think about. Imagine a robot, how easy it can trick you. All the deep fakes, all this kind of stuff. You need a crypto mechanism to know who the heck are you even paying, because you're gonna get deceived by all these fakes. There's gonna be voices already that like can clone your voice and, yes, call me and go, hey, send me fucking $10,000 or whatever, and I think you're trapped in a jail in Mexico.
Yes.
Next thing you know, I just sent it to a fucking robot. Like, but that would be protected by using a crypto rail that has those verifications and can understand whose wallet address is this, so they can't be faked out,
right,
by the voice or by some like, you know, fake video that convinces you that I'm in trouble.
That's a very good point that you brought, because, you know, as gold turning into copper dollars and turning into now, I think It's not even silver nowadays. It's just like, what is I mean, diamonds made out of again? Like diamonds are made out of quarters, or made out of
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how they make, but they make they pressurize a bunch of shit in
a whole bunch of shit, and then now it's like we don't even know what it is. So to have that upper hand where you could be able to send money, through crypto stuff, it's it's pretty amazing. And I'm so glad that it came out.
And that's like the backdrop. The reason I say that stuff is like, I remember when I was like trying to get clear on like, do I believe in crypto? Like, am I going to invest in this? And I needed to know these types of things, right? Because it's like, the way my brain works is I want to understand, like, why am I even buying anything? Like, I'm not like a crypto guy. I am sort of now, but like, if there's something that comes up tomorrow that's better, I'll move on. Like, I'm not just like one of these guys like, I love crypto. Like, I like the output that it's happening right now in this environment with all the inflation, AI on the horizon, governments being hard to trust. That said, I'm still keeping my eye on it, right? If things start to change, I'll be ready to change, just like I was when I shifted into crypto. And I want everybody here to understand, like, why are you doing this? Because you can go to like a million channels and I can go, yo, buy Pepe coin, and then you just run over and you listen to them. Yeah, and they don't tell you where to buy it, where to sell it, why to buy it, why to sell it. It's the next thing you know, you're buying it, it tanks, you don't know what to do, you sell the bottom, you lose money, you go, oh, crypto's a scam. And that's all because you didn't really understand like why you were doing it and what the context of reality is that makes crypto a good idea.
Yes. Well, my brother, we're gonna cut the short little video already. I do appreciate you coming over here, man.
Yeah, bro.
I know you got a couple of meetings coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, man, let's do it again soon. And I think like everybody here is like, one last idea is that you're basically past Bitcoin season now. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying you're not going to see it continue to go, but you'll probably see a 2x from here until November, and then you'll see a correction where it's going to drop back down. So what's really exciting though is because Bitcoin season is kind of cooling down a little bit. The altcoins, it'll start with some of the big ones like XRP just did, ETH, Sol, but all these little coins are going to now have their day in the sun.
Yes.
So people who've been waiting for that, pick quality smaller tokens, things like Sui, look at things in AI like Render, but maybe even come down into some smaller projects in those hot topics like AI, gaming, RWA, which is real world assets. And just go look on CoinGecko, CoinMarket, and you'll see, man, like you can put the filter at 7 days or 24 hours or the whole year, and you'll see these things are starting to percolate, right? A lot of them are kind of having their first green days in a very long time. Yes, but come back to this conversation in 6 months, and a lot of those things are going to be like 10 to 20x higher. So get excited. This is what we wait for. This is from here towards summer is the most valuable 6 months of the whole 4 years for crypto. So cherish it, because once it's over, we're going to have to go probably back into some type of a winter, probably at the end of the year or sometime. Maybe it'll end sooner, but then it'll be back to the old pattern of probably taking 9 to 12 months of a bit of a sideways cool off, and then we'll do it again. Enjoy this time, because this is the time. This is game time. Lock in, baby.
Lock in. Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Tyson. Thank you so much for coming over here,
bro.
Buddy. Guys, thank you so much for watching our channel. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. Like and subscribe, please. We'll continue having the motivation to keep on doing the videos for you guys, okay?